Hello and welcome to the MTG-Profits podcast. This is episode 14. Welcome and glad to have you with you. I'm Andy, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host here, Devin.
Hey.
Hey, Dev.
How's it going, dude?
Good. How you doing?
Not too bad. It's halfway through the week, hump day.
Yeah. We're recording here. This is on a Wednesday night, but as always, as a reminder, we have our new episodes drop. They'll be ready for you Thursday morning, bright and early. So please check us out every Thursday. And also, while you're listening to that, you can go to YouTube and check us out on YouTube. Look us up there and check out the website as well, mtgprofits.com.
Absolutely. Lots of juicy content.
Yeah, we got lots of stuff for you. So I think, at first I thought we were having kind of a slow news week and slow things, but there's a couple things going on here.
Yeah. I think you had found something about a comic that's going to be popping out.
Yeah, just looking today, I saw on, this was from Magic the Gathering, the official website, in one of their articles. They are having a new comic book that's coming out, Magic the Gathering Chandra issue number 1. It shelves next week on December 12th. So it's the adventures of Chandra and, I guess, going across the multiverse and protecting those who cannot help themselves.
What do you think? You think there's a market for this kind of thing?
I think if I remember, they tried this before. Didn't they do one with Dak Faden, and he was the master thief, and he was going to search through the multiverse, and I don't know how many issues it got, maybe 6 or 10. It wasn't, I don't think, a whole lot. I think they've tried some of these things before, but,
it's funny. You wonder, because in all honesty, like, I can't imagine people being clamoring for, like, a comic book about Magic. Like, I just don't see the broad-based appeal,
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could make an argument maybe, well, you're into collectible card games, you're into fantasy, you're into comic books, because that's all kind of, in a way, related. Maybe you can kind of combine some of that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I just can't imagine. It almost seems like, in my mind, Hasbro, the Wizards overlords have decided to maybe think let's branch out. Let's be like Marvel. Let's have comic book heroes as well. We'll be huge. It'll be monstrous. Then we can make toys and sell toys as well.
Then we can make a TV show or a movie or something.
Exactly. It makes me just think they're trying to push for something that I can't imagine there being a large
interest for.
Exactly. Outside of the relatively small amount of fandom. I mean, what is there? Supposedly 12 million worldwide Magic players, I believe. And that's according to Wizards. So those numbers are maybe circumspect or, suspicious, especially when they say 40% of the players are women. I find that highly suspicious.
Yeah.
I can't imagine 5 million female Magic players.
That does seem suspicious. It's a number.
I've never been to an event where more than 10% of the players were women, and that's being generous.
Yeah, I will say that in recent years there has been a greater number of women players that I've seen at events.
That's true, more than 0.
Exactly. But still more. I mean, definitely growing. I'll give it that. I wouldn't say 50%, but
no way.
Maybe 20, maybe 30.
You think 20 or 30%?
At least at my local store that I've seen.
Wow, you got a lot of women Magic players then.
A variety, and definitely on the younger side. I don't think I've ever seen not to be rude, but not an older woman Magic player.
Nobody our age.
Exactly. I'd say mostly teen to kind of college age, kind of young adult players. I wouldn't say I've ever seen a woman over 40 Magic player.
Yeah, it's a rare bird. I mean, you've probably seen some, but there's so few. It's like you could count them on one hand.
Exactly.
Yeah. So even 12 million overall worldwide Magic players, I think, is being generous. They're probably fluffing those numbers. Maybe they're counting total DCI numbers or something. Who knows what they're counting?
Exactly. I don't know. Chandra,
And they seem to be beaten to death, some of these characters. Like how many times are they going to talk about Jace and Chandra? It's like, holy cow, these two characters get a lot of screen time.
They really seem to. I
Yeah.
mean, they're really trying to make, like you said, these planeswalkers into epic characters who can, go into books now or movies or whatever media, whatever they can, be more publicized and, sell them whichever way you can.
Exactly. Do you remember when they made the high end? I would believe they were Funko Pop figures, but they weren't the standard bobbleheads. They were like, they were $39 figurines that were like highly detailed, and they made them as Gatewatch characters. They were, Jace and Chandra and Liliana and I think it's Johnny or Gideon, and they were like more of a high end collectible.
Yeah, I think so.
I think no one bought them, and they ended up selling in the dollar stores.
Oh, wow.
So, I think they're trying to push out into other directions, which I can't blame them for. They say, hey, we've got this intellectual property, and we need to see if we can spread our seed somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe try and branch out into a different arena. But
I just, I don't know. I don't really have any interest in it. I don't think it's ever going to become like, oh, it's some sort of collector's item. You got issue number 1 of Chandra.
I can't imagine that.
I don't know. And just looking at the comic, I mean, a couple pages you can look at online already. I mean, it looks okay. I mean, the art is okay. I don't really have any, I don't know. It's nothing that's blowing me away. I always found when you take some of these Planeswalker characters, or really any of the Magic characters, I don't know. They just don't really seem to translate very well for me to other media.
They seem kind of vanilla.
Yeah, they're just they seem very like there's not really much depth to them. There's not really anything that draws me to these characters. They feel just very like I don't know. You could put another fire wizard out there, and I'd probably have the same feeling I would toward Chandra. It doesn't really. I wouldn't tell you the difference. It wouldn't matter to me.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't know why that is, because it seems like they should have potential as a cool character. They start out all weak until their Planeswalker spark gets ignited through some traumatic event. Like, that sounds like on its surface highly desirable when it comes to a storytelling element. But I don't know why it doesn't quite translate. I'm just not quite sure.
I don't know if the stories, like all these, continuing Gatewatch stories that go throughout the sets and everything are just not, I don't know, just not that great of stories, or they're just not, the characters' roles aren't that great, or they're just too, what's the word? Like, too,
too pushed or something. Yeah,
maybe too pushed or too just kind of, I don't know. Yeah, kind of fake, I guess. Just not good storytelling. Sure. I'm not sure what it is, but I just don't feel really any connection with these characters or really any, like...
it's funny, like, back in the day, like, I don't even know. Maybe it's just the time. Maybe it's just our age. Maybe it's that we're not young when we're playing with these newer characters. Mm-hmm. But, like, it seems to me, like, even though we didn't actually see the characters back in the day, like, some of the flavor text seemed to, like, make the characters seem cooler. Like, I remember, like, the little quotes from, like, way back in Ice Age, like, Limdol the Necromancer.
Yeah.
And, like, Jaya Ballard, the Task Mage. And, you know, you'd be like, oh, that character sounds cool. Like, it seems to me like some of the older characters who we didn't even have direct exposure to seemed cooler to me than some of these new characters who we actually see as planeswalkers and can actually play with them as cards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that is. It just seems to me that seems to be the case. Like, maybe Nicol Bolas still seems cool, but he was always kind of cool. Like, he seems like one that, of the newish ones, that still does seem to have some I don't know, just seems decent, but.
I agree. Yeah, he does seem the coolest. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's because they're all just so typecast that, here's a fire. They're so trope characters. Maybe that's it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It could be.
There's a fire girl. Here's the guy with mind magic, and here's a lion guy.
Yeah. See,
I don't know.
I kind of liked the other character that I liked that was more recent was Garuk as well. I liked him better, and they don't play him like they don't bring him to the fore anymore because of I guess his violent tendencies, and I guess they're trying to move away from like violent characters or aggressive characters or characters that are after killing each other. So I think as a company, they're trying to shift that image, so they don't bring out the character that's hunting the other planeswalkers.
Yeah, maybe that's another thing. If you're gonna make your characters and storylines kind of PG-13, maybe that's not really gonna turn me on at all either.
Could be. I know that even they had been. I had been reading online. There was like a pretty big uproar about the Chandra comic as well for I guess episode 3 or issue 3. And I wish we could show the people this image, but it's pretty easy. You just go online and type in Google Chandra episode 3. But they show a picture of Tibalt, the Blood Fiended or whatever, and apparently he's fighting Chandra in I'm assuming episode 3 of this comic or issue 3, and apparently he's like beat her down and she's like on the ground, and there was a lot of I guess uproar over this image because people are saying, oh, this is a problem because it's a man dominating a woman, and he's going to be having his way with her, and when you look at this image, like, again, you really almost need to see it. There's nothing sexual about it at all. It looks like they were just fighting maybe, and he just like blasted her with something, and she's like on the ground. There's nothing like there's nothing in this image that makes me think, oh no, he's like an abusive male and he's gonna take advantage of the female while she's on the ground. It seems like it's such a strange thing that people would get so fired up over this image for that reason.
That seems just like a stretch. I mean, it seems like a stretch for people who just want to cause some controversy and who want to be argumentative about it.
It's such a strange thing. It's like, oh my God, I'm offended by the horns on his head. They look sexual. They look like penises.
Oh, come on.
I mean, I don't understand where this comes from.
For our listeners, to give you a kind of a more detailed idea too. So the picture has this, and I guess this is not a final cover, but it is, I guess, a proposed artwork or what was released anyway. That there's a picture in the background is kind of Innistrad, I guess. It's all buildings and it's all dark and gray, and you see a picture of Tibalt, and he's standing there. His hand's got some fire going in it, and he's kind of smiling and glaring down. And at his feet is Chandra, who's kind of on her side and with her hands on the ground and struggling kind of to get back up.
That's what it looks like. Yep. Yeah, there's nothing sexualized about this image at all in my mind.
Yeah, I don't see anything about that. It seems, this seems like one of those classic kind of, trope kind of images where
it does.
The battered down hero at the foot of the villain.
It really does. It looks just like every other comic you would ever see anywhere.
Exactly. You pick up any, Marvel or DC comic, I'm sure you're going to see something similar on one of those covers.
Yeah. So strange.
I don't know.
The Redditors are all aflame about this.
Once again, just something else to get pissy about.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a waste.
You're probably right.
I don't know. It'll be canceled after issue 10 anyway, so don't worry about it too much. That's what I'd say.
That's probably right.
I mean, really.
That's funny.
I can't see it going on for too long. So.
I'd be surprised, but I guess again they're trying to branch out. I'm sure they'd love to sell toys and comics and everything else. Although I still think the comics are somewhat of a dying industry. Even the huge growth of Marvel as a movie studio has not helped the comic demise. Yeah. Apparently, it's a bloodbath in that industry as well. So
sure.
And I'm not exactly sure the reasons. I don't pay enough attention to that, but I there is, I guess it's a known quantity that things are very, very bad.
Things are going more to digital, and there's some digital offerings, and it's not good.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Chandra. How long her adventure goes for.
Will Tibalt be the end of Chandra? Episode 3.
Let's hope so. I'd love to
Find
see,
out.
like, in the storyline, like in Chandra, or, even just the regular Magic, this storyline, see, a major character, get
Buy it.
killed. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you're
know,
right about that for sure.
because
So,
it seems, and I'm sure there's probably some case in there where a planeswalker has died, and it's probably some minor character from, I don't know, Onslaught or some way back when, who was, some storyline, but certainly not any of the recenter, planeswalkers. Everyone gets beat up and bruised, but they're still around.
yeah, or they just disappear and planeswalk somewhere else for a while.
Yeah.
And
So
they planeswalk to Ryza, the pleasure planet, and then they chill there for a while.
yeah, they planeswalk back to Hasbro Plane where
Yeah.
they
They've entered Utopia in Wizards of the Coast. A utopian place where all
they,
things are good.
they hang out with the Transformers and Bumblebee.
Oh, that's right.
Oh. So I guess speaking of Hasbro, I guess that was one other thing I caught just recently. There was a news bit about Hasbro, and I guess this was kind of in light of some of this trade war with China that, prices were going to be a lot higher on some of the imports, and this had some concerns for U.S. businesses, and that the Hasbro was going to move some of the production back to the U.S. And they did name the, I guess I think the CEO of Hasbro did mention Magic the Gathering as one of those products, I guess with production moving back to the U.S.
Now, are they going to use do you know if they're going to use the Cartamundi, the U.S. branch of that? I know for a while there is U.S. Cartamundi as well as Brussels. There are multiple locations there, but
They did not get into those
any
kind of details.
specifics?
Maybe
Okay.
that'll be released later. Maybe there's more details available, but at least in his uh, interview, he did not say get into any details about actual production facilities or when or how that was going to work. So,
Okay.
um,
Well, I'd be happy for anything that would actually improve card quality. So, card quality has been abysmal, and as has been beaten to death. It's just you really hope to see some change in that regard.
yeah, I mean, I
Mhm.
guess I assume they were getting the financial benefit of being in China and lower production costs and all that. So
Yeah, you'd
financially, it probably was a good move for them. But
you'd think they'd make better cards in China because the counterfeiters sure are.
yeah, I guess they went with the lowest of the bunch.
They found
I
the
don't know.
cheapest magic card counterfeiter they could find and gave him the large contract to produce all of the magic cards.
Exactly.
Like, make these as shitty as possible.
Yep.
These things need to suck.
Yep.
Use the cheapest paper make sure it crimples quickly.
Exactly.
Crimples quickly.
Put up some of them in backwards in the pack, or it doesn't matter.
You want
People
these to
buy
look
it.
like Pringle chips once people open them a week later.
Exactly. So I
Yeah.
guess as far as us, I mean, let's say things do move back to the U.S. I guess potentially we could have better quality of the product, but I think that's probably about it, right? I mean, I wouldn't expect anything
Yeah.
to change pricing wise or really distribution wise.
Nah, I wouldn't think so. They've already raised the prices, and they was the largest price increase in history, in Magic history. So, I can't imagine them increasing prices again. So,
Yeah.
I would be surprised, especially since they've already played that card once. They're like, oh, due to expected cost increases, we're going to raise the prices commensurately, even though the cost increases hadn't gone through yet. They raised the prices anyway.
Yeah.
So, but they cited that it was because of increased costs even
Of
before the
course.
tariff had kicked in. So, but
Uh,
although it wouldn't surprise me if they raise them again. It would. I guess they'll, as long as people keep buying, they'll probably keep jacking. So
yeah, probably, or it'll be the next special product, the super ultimate
super ultimate
collectors,
supreme masters.
supreme
Yeah,
masters,
yeah.
whatever.
10th edition.
Exactly.
Yeah, it could be. Or they may just take the mindset that quality doesn't matter because we want everyone to move to digital anyway. So
Yeah,
if we make crappy cards, then everybody will just move online anyway. So maybe that's their thought, that they just don't care about card quality and they're all about making it as cheaply as possible. And who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems with the sheer volume of cards and history, the actual physical card market for them is probably not going to go away anytime soon. But I would agree that the long-term approach is the digital approach.
Yeah. It's funny, like, I don't know if you remember or if you've known anybody, but there used to be people that would collect defective Magic cards. Like, and they actually were highly valuable. They were prized things because back when Cardamundi made all the cards, they were rare. It was so rare to have a misprinted card or a defective card that they were considered extra special and super rare. And they were sought after as collector's items. People would pay, like, if you had like a miscut, like lightning bolt or something,
sure,
it'd be like, a $90 card. It wouldn't be like $4. It actually had value because a miscut card was such a rare find.
Sure.
And now they're so common that it's like, you're guaranteed a couple in each box. So,
yeah, pretty much.
Offset cards, miscut cards, crumpled cards. It's like now it's like a commonplace thing. So
yeah, it's not surprising.
Gives you a sense for how far we've fallen in that regard. Where people used to actively seek out damaged cards. They were so special and so rare.
That's true. I mean, I don't know.
But yeah.
Odd.
Well, see, I like the idea of improved card quality. Although
that's a bonus.
We've heard that before. I remember when Dominaria came out, they said we're going to try to improve our printing quality to Japanese standards, and and they haven't come close to that. These Japanese playing cards are of fantastic quality. These Vice Schwartz and the Force of Will and all these cards have, these things are fantastic. So they haven't even come close to the original Magic card quality, let alone let alone these Japanese trading card games.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I would not hold my breath, but I would love for card quality to improve.
I mean, maybe in time, and certainly even if they do move things over here, it's not going to happen right away. So.
I don't get me wrong. I'd love for it to happen. I'd love for it to happen. But we'll see. I guess we'll see.
We'll see.
I guess we forgot to mention that it's Rakdos week.
It is Rakdos week. We are solidly black-red this week.
That's right.
We have joined the Rakdos Guild. We are actually recording from the secret pain temple underneath the city.
Roxmidi or whatever.
Yeah.
Roxmadi.
All sorts of strange, ceremonies and painful flagellation and whatnot going on.
Andy's got a gimp tied up in a box right now.
Exactly. He helps sort cards. He likes it.
Put him to use.
Exactly.
And he likes it. He likes the forced labor.
It's very amusing for him.
So do you have a pick or two for this week?
Yeah, I do. I guess first just a word about Rakdos. So Rakdos, black-red. Traditionally, we've looked at things like Hellbent, where you're trying to get rid of cards to activate a Hellbent. And we had Unleash, where it was you would get a bonus, but you couldn't block as a result. And their, I guess, what is he considered? Their lord or whatever was Rakdos himself, who was a giant demon.
That's right.
So black-red, I think, I found this a little bit tougher to actually come up with.
I did as well. I will say I did as well. Because the cards that seemed obvious to me were already somewhat expensive. So I was like, ooh. So I almost went and tried to dig a little bit deeper and touch upon a little bit of the themes that you had already discussed, the the self-sacrifice, or the
Yep.
things of that nature, like the racing to the finish, try to get your
Sure.
job done before they get theirs done, and so I actually sort of went thematically. So my picks basically sort of revolve around that kind of mentality, just to see, maybe it'll go in that direction.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
have? I think I've got two picks, and
Yeah,
and
I've got two ones I feel confident on, and maybe
maybe
one
a
or two
bonus
I just have kind of I'm
throw
so
out there.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat with you.
The first, and I found it easier to find black cards than red cards, honestly.
I did as well. Yeah. Watch
Yeah,
us have some overlap. That'd be
that'd be
great.
funny. Let's see. So one of those cards was it's from Ixalan. It's called
Oh
Sword
boy.
Point Diplomacy.
Oh, okay. Let me take a look at that one. That one's not on my list. I was starting to sweat it at first. I
Oh,
was like,
I do have another one. I don't know if it's right. Okay, my other one's Rivals, but anyway, Sword Point Diplomacy from Ixalan. It's right now about, I don't know, 50 cents or so. It's low. It's certainly well under $1. And this is a sorcery for 3 mana. Reveal the top 3 cards of your library. For each of those cards, put that card into your hand unless any opponent pays 3. Then exile the rest. I like this one because it seemed very undervalued. It kind of goes to the mechanic of, not really those ones we've talked about before, but I liked it because it was similar kind of in feeling to like Browbeat and
yeah.
the other new one. What's the new red one?
The instant speed one for 4 mana.
Yeah, the other new one
Let's
that
get the jump start. Oh gosh, what the heck is
you
it?
know what I'm talking
I
about.
do. I
It's
do.
another one basically. I think that's you get cards unless an opponent spends life. I think is
Yeah.
basically the
Yeah.
deal.
That's exactly right.
So this felt like something similar to that, and so your opponent's potentially paying out 9 life. It's kind of one of those choice ones,
Yeah.
which I don't see really as any sort of downside. You're either getting
This
cards
is
or
really
you're
a nice pick
paying
for you.
life.
I didn't even come across this one, and this
Yeah.
is really nice. I really like this pick.
Yeah, this seems
Yeah.
like kind of maybe a little unusual kind of the nature of the card drawing part maybe. The life part seems black-like, but I don't know about the card part so much.
Yeah, I think it sure doesn't work towards Hellbent, but it does kind of work towards the idea of dumping out as many cards as you can and maybe refilling your hand a little bit.
Yeah,
And then if you don't refill your hand, then they take damage. So I think,
exactly.
yeah, it's actually a card I like now that I'm looking at it. And
Yeah, I think
it
it's pretty
definitely
decent.
flew under my radar because it seems pretty nice, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it's a good card. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna, jump to $20 or anything like that, but I could see that, certainly rising,
Yeah.
to a couple dollars, maybe $3 tops. I think at its high point it was close to $4. So, even if it went up, $1, $2, I think that'd be pretty fair for this card.
I think so. Yeah, it's not bad. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
So what of your picks, though?
I've got something that's along the same lines, and it's also an Ixalan. It's also a rare, and it's also black. That's why I was like, we're gonna have the same card. This one is Arguel's Bloodfast.
Oh,
And,
that was one of my other ones. But not one of that was one of my secondary.
one of your
ones.
other choices.
I won't tell you what my other main one is, but that
Nice.
was on my list.
It
Yeah.
was on your list. That's
Yeah.
funny. So it's a 2 mana legendary enchantment, black and colorless, or I should say black and a void,
Yeah.
and it's pay black and a colorless, and also pay 2 life to draw a card. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 5 or less life, you may transform the Bloodfast. And on the flip side, it produces mana, and you tap to produce a black mana, or you tap and sacrifice a creature to gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. So this card gets to almost like 2 aspects that might not be, unlike or somewhat typical for Rakdos, which is the paying life,
Yep.
and then also the sacking creatures. So I figured,
Exactly.
if either of those mechanics become somewhat favorable, because it's hard to predict what mechanic they'll do. You know, they might do something like, for every life, you know, they may have something like a mechanic called Blood Pact or something like that, where it says something like, every time you lose life, your opponent loses life. You know, who knows what they'll actually do, but this would fit very well into that kind of a theme. And then they may even have something like, you know, every time you lose a creature, the opponent loses a life. And then even if that is the case, then the flip side of this card is equally good. So this card goes for about $1.30 right now, and you know, it really just depends on what kind of mechanics are going to reveal themselves in the
Ravnica Allegiance.
Allegiance, Allegiance, yeah. So that was my number one pick.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I like like you said, the idea that it's having to do with paying life and drawing cards, and I think that fits those themes.
So and then sacking critters even.
Yeah, and then sacrificing things. Yeah, I think that all ties together. I like the idea too, though, of having some sort of enchantment where when you lose life, your opponent loses life.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun card.
That would be It would be fun if some of the creatures had something like that on them. You know. So eventually we'll see something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. My other strong pick is also another black card. This is from Rivals of Ixalan, and this is called the Tomb Robber. He's a creature, a human pirate. He's 3 mana. He's a 1/1 creature. He's got Menace, and you pay 1, discard a card. Tomb Robber explores. I kind of liked it just because it was he seemed a 1/1 Menace. That's okay. But the discard a card and he explores. So I don't know. Yeah. You know, back to the discard of card thing. So maybe, you know, thinking about Hellbent and things like that, he can it's a discard a card outlet just by paying 1, which seems pretty fair.
Yeah. And he pumps himself up as well in the process, potentially.
He pumps himself up, and I don't think we've seen a whole lot of Explore with black, if memory serves.
Certainly not.
So maybe something more with that. Maybe something more with +1 counters with black. I don't know. That part could go in a couple of different directions, but definitely the discard a card part was, I think, maybe what I was looking at more. Yeah.
That's another thing they could even tie some sort of damage mechanic to. Every time you discard a card, the opponent takes damage. That'd be a cool mechanic as well.
There's got to be a card like that out there. I'd be surprised if there isn't one already.
Yeah, well, I mean, like a whole mechanic, like Mentor, or you know, like that could be Rakdos' thing, you know, or Convoke, you know. So that'd be cool. We should design cards from Wizards.
Maybe that should be a new segment here.
Be a lot better.
I would definitely have a legendary spider who is kick-ass.
The demon spider lord.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. This card's a bargain, though. I mean, it's under 50 cents. So whether it's good or bad, it's cheap. So
surely.
You know, I could see it maybe going up to maybe $1 or so, maybe $2, maybe $2 tops. But
nice.
So.
My second pick is I usually try to stick to rares because I find that they have a little bit of an easier time to climb in value, but this one's actually an uncommon from Ixalan, and it's it by itself is not tremendously powerful, but it does a lot of things for you that you kind of like. Okay. And especially when you're trying to race the opponent, and sometimes, especially with a Rakdos style deck, your goal is to kind of race and try to race and win. And this card, you've probably seen it all over the arena. It's the Kite Sail Freebooter.
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, it's a 2 mana, a 1 black and a colorless.
Great card.
1/2 flyer. When this card enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card and exile that until the freebooter leaves play. So basically, this guy gets out on the field, yanks out their best non-creature card, and then is a flyer to boot. So
Yeah.
by you playing a card, they lose a card, and you got a 1/2 flyer,
Mm-hmm.
And even if they want that card back, they've got to kill this Kite Sail freebooter instead of your, 3/3 menace guy instead.
Sure.
So they have to decide, God, is that, is the 3/2 menace a problem, or do I need that card back?
Exactly. Yep.
So kind of like Planeswalkers, draw a lot of fire. This thing draws fire, and
Mm-hmm.
I really like it. I like the idea that it helps me win a race. So this card's about 65 cents. It's not as cheap as I would like it, but
Yeah.
I could see it climb to, probably maybe $1.80, depending on how well. This card has a subtle advantage in that it's going to be, all the cards that we've mentioned so far have the advantage of being available in 2 of the upcoming guild colors. So not only Rakdos, but also the Orzhov. So
Yeah.
especially when it comes to losing life, Orzhov's got that stuff covered. So these cards, you don't have to win the Rakdos lottery. You could win the Orzhov lottery as well.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
and this reminds me of an old Orzhov card, that zombie over the river Styx or whatever, where he was a black and a white, and when he came into play, you did the exact same thing. You yanked a card out of somebody's
Oh,
hand.
the Tide Howl Sculler.
That's exactly right. This card is very similar to that, but doesn't require
exactly.
white. So, and this one flies. So
Yeah, the Sculler was 2/2 for white and a black, and when he comes into play, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from it, remove that card. When he dies, they get it back.
Yep.
Yeah.
A similar kind of experience.
Yeah, he's actually been on the rise.
Periodically he's in that black-white tokens deck. That's a modern deck, and he's heavily used in that deck. So, as a 4/of, I think.
I gotcha. Eldrazi white. Okay, yeah.
But so yeah, that's my number 2 pick.
Nice. Yeah, I do. I like that Kite Sail. And I've fought against him definitely several times on the arena, and he's good. Because I guess what, like a duress is like 1 mana.
Exactly.
So you're paying like 1 extra mana for a
1/2
better
flyer.
deal, really. Yeah.
Yeah, 1/2 flyer. Yep. And like I said, it draws fire to boot. So, just something.
No, I think he's a great uncommon.
Yeah. Do you want to throw out a bonus pick?
Throw out a bonus pick. I feel we haven't touched on red at all, and maybe just because it stinks. I don't know, or maybe just because there's nothing really that, I don't know, nothing outstanding going on with red. It's kind of disappointing. I feel. The only pick I have for that is looking at red, and this is actually red-black. Excuse me. Is Angrath, the Flame Chained.
Is that the Planeswalker?
It is the Planeswalker.
Oh my gosh, he was one of my bonus picks too.
Yeah, because I mean, you talked about before, Dev. I think if you see cheap Planeswalkers, grab them basically. Yeah. And he's a cheap Planeswalker, and I mean, I like him. He's okay.
I do. I like his abilities a lot. Ability number 1 and ability number 2 are definitely very playable in Rakdos colors. Ability 3, not so much. But I thought his casting cost was a bit on the top end for Rakdos.
Yeah.
But at 5 mana.
Yep.
But I do like that pick as well. He was on my list as well.
Yeah, he was from Rivals of Ixalan, Angrath the Flame Chained. He's going for around $5 or so now. Pretty low, in Planeswalker terms.
Yep.
Maybe with Rakdos coming up, he's going to get a little bit of a boost.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see. It really just depends on what mechanics come to the forefront, I would say. So.
Yeah.
I've got. I did have a stretch guy that was also red. As a side bonus, we're sort of not really talking about it as much, but I do recommend looking, and if you can find them, cheaply, the Dragon Skull Summits.
Okay. Yep. I was thinking the same along those lines too. Yeah.
They're, because again, we know that these colors are coming, so if you can hop on eBay and get these for a deal, I would say if you can get 4 of them for $12, I would snatch them up. I think that's reasonable. And I think you can do it if you're patient, and now is the time to do it. So that's not actually the pick, but it's just an FYI just to consider doing. Because
And
the
just
lands will
along
always be interesting.
those lines too. I did go on eBay and I picked up 4 Hinterland Harbors for $12. 12
Yeah,
total.
I've gobbled those up myself. Yeah, the Hinterlands and the other one I can't remember, but the blue green. I bet a little heavily into the mana base on that one.
But
I
I
want to
think
say
that's a good call though. Like any of the lands that fit these
if you
colors.
can get them cheap, you get them, and then you'll be able to sell them later. So
Yeah.
I think it's a very safe bet.
Hmm.
So my actual stretch pick is a red card as well from Guilds of Ravnica, and it's actually billed as a Boros card, and it's 1 red and 2 colorless, and it's a rare, and it's the Legion War Boss.
I was
And
gonna guess that just from what you
yeah,
said for the colors.
yeah, the Legion War Boss is a 2/2 with Mentor, which is why he's in that Boros guild. But really, what I'm after for him is he generates a Goblin token every turn.
Yep.
So he generates a Goblin token that I want to say enters during your combat step, tapped and attacking.
Correct.
But so I just like that he throws tokens out there,
Hmm.
and again, it's typical. There's typically some sacrificing going on in Rakdos, and this sort of fits that theme. I'm
Sure.
not as confident about this one, but I do think it has some potential. So that's my stretch pick.
I
So
mean I like the War Boss. I mean he seems pretty good. He's another solid goblin. He's got mentor. He's creating goblin tokens.
3 mana, two
Yeah, he's
two.
pretty reasonable. Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad. Yep. So
Nice. So
yeah.
I guess to sum up, my picks were the Sword Point Diplomacy, the Tomb Raider, not with Laura Croft, I guess, just the regular
Haha.
black one, the dump, and Rakdos, the Unchained, I think he is.
Yep. It's like Angrath.
And or I mean, yeah, yeah, you're right. And Graf, the Unchained film. And then Dev, I think you had Argyle's Bloodfast, Argyle's
Yep.
Bloodfast, the Kitesail Freebooter, and the Legion War Boss, with also a suggestion to get any of those Dragon Skull summits.
Absolutely. And unrelated note to our picks this week. This is just a recommendation to sell. So before we close it
Oh
out,
yeah, what do you got?
there is if somebody is holding these cards or has these cards in their binder, they have climbed to, I feel, unsustainable heights, and it's a rare from Ixalan. It's the Search for Azcanta,
Mm-hmm.
and this card is going for about $70, between 50 and 70.
Oh
So
wow.
between 60 and 70, I'm sorry, and it's a rare in a currently printed set. So this card is a hard sell. If I have any of these, boy, I would be selling them yesterday. I would clearance them out on eBay for $55 and get them out of my collection. It's very hard for a card to hold value like this, especially when rotation
See
is
that?
is
Yeah.
not all that far away. Rotation is somewhat approaching for this card, and it is going to go down the toilet. So
Well, and now you're talking though Search for Esconda, the buy a box promo version, right?
yeah, this is the well, actually, hold on a minute, because I think, isn't it the same? Let me look at this thing. It's like, because it's like 60. Let's
I
see,
think the regular version
$59.
is like $17 from what I see.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, this would be any of the ones that are like $55. This is like,
Yeah.
look at this thing. So why can I not look at this? Speaking of search, I can't search for Azcanta. So it's like
It
the
has
search
remained hidden.
the search is failing me. This is the foilized buy a box promo version.
Okay.
So this sucker is, I would dump this thing
Yeah.
instantly. So if I had any of these bad boys, I would certainly sell.
And
Even the
also-
regular foils ones, I'd sell them.
Yeah, I'd get rid of that too. And just to go back to a point from before, all of you people who were screaming at us as we were talking, Risk Factor was the name of the card, the new browbeat basically.
Oh yes.
From Guilds of Ravnica.
Good call.
Target opponent may have risk factor deal 4 damage to them. If that player doesn't, you draw 3 cards, and it has Jumpstart for 3 mana. So pretty and instant. So it's a pretty good card.
Yeah, excellent. Very good.
I think so
that about wraps it up.
Yeah, next week we'll cover another guild. So look forward to that. And
we'll surprise you all. So you'll have to listen to see what guild we talk about next. So no preview for the listeners today.
No, we got 2 left, I guess.
3.
3. Excuse me. Yep.
So but very good. We look forward to giving you more content soon. As Absolutely. Andy mentioned, make sure you check out the website, and if YouTube is your thing, then feel free to check that out as well. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. But
I guess one other thing too. We're probably going to start recording some of our arena plays. So we'll put those out and put those on the website as well. So check it out on the website, or go to YouTube and check it out. Just look up MTG-Profits and check out some arena footage, and
absolutely
see some fun games.
Absolutely, and we'll mention that again more prominently in the intro next week, I think.